Okay, so I had another pretty synchronistic thing happen to me. Um, the Major League Baseball season pretty much just started a couple of days ago, and it brought to mind something that I had noticed some time ago, and I never really talked about it. But basically, the other day there was a story up about the Angels baseball team, basically, I guess, lauding Mike Trout for making his 13th consecutive start for the club, the ball club, on opening day. And so Mike Trout comes to the front, and then it always amazes me because they've been doing this for a while. I noticed in the sports media, and it's just manipulation again, right? Where typically like they'll compare some player that plays today, some like good player, um, maybe borderline Hall of Fame player, let's say, and try to compare him to somebody that's like one of the greatest to ever play the game based on some stat that's, uh, you know, they're correlated, but it doesn't really make any difference as to, you know what I mean? Like, okay, I'll give you an example. Like, I know during the last football season they were talking about Mike Evans, the wide receiver from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I have nothing against Mike Evans. Like I said before, like I consider him a very good player, NFL player, and maybe borderline Hall of Famer. But for the sports media to be harping on about, and it's true, right? But to be harping on about the fact that he has so many consecutive 1,000 yard receiving seasons, and he had the same amount as Jerry Rice. It kind of begs the question, right? Are you trying to compare Mike Evans to Jerry Rice, saying that Mike Evans is any type of shape of career of Jerry Rice because he has a string of 1,000 yards receiving seasons that matches what Jerry Rice had, which is the record. I mean, that's pretty stupid to me. I mean, I personally don't even think Mike Evans is on the level of like a Steve Largent or um, Lance Allworth or um, Bullet Bob Hayes or I mean, some of these guys are Hall of Famers. I grant you, but I'm just saying like Jerry Rice is, I think, pretty far and away. Like when if you talk to people about wide receivers, for a number of reasons, I think a lot because of I think for me it's the touchdowns scored, right? You know how he had so many touchdowns. But anyway, um, I mean, even within the numbers, you can pick the whole, the argument apart about Mike Evans being I mean, even comparable to Jerry Rice, except for the fact that you pick some arbitrary stat, right? I mean, yeah, it is the record, but at the same time, like, how has the game changed, right? I mean, I'm not even talking offenses and the amount of, you know, times you pass the ball, and I mean, I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about like, how many seasons did Mike Evans play in a season where I think it's been two now that he's played an extra game every season. And there's been years where he barely got 1,000 yards. He's barely like hitting a home run ball to the wall and it falls over and yeah, it's a home run. Um, but so there's that where they've been comparing these like good players in current times, recency bias, right, and trying to pull up some type of stat and compare them to a you know former all-time great. But in the case of this Mike Trout situation, it's weird because I mean, to me, Garrett Anderson, that played for Angels, again, he was good. I mean, I didn't even really even do any research to look at his numbers for this video. But in my mind, like he's just a good player. I mean, does it say a lot? You suited up for the same team. I mean, it tells me that loyalty for one. Um, you played in a time when there's far less free agency, by percentage in the league, but you're loyal to the team, so you resign when it was time. The team didn't have anybody better than you at the position to start, I guess, each season. Um, but I mean, yeah, Mike Trout's he spent the last, I believe, 4 seasons. At the end of the season, he didn't finish the seasons. Um, but I think if you look at Mike Trout's numbers, like it's just tremendous for the amount of years that he's played so far. Um, I mean, I think he and Bryce Harper are kind of again on kind of even footing, because of their career achievements. Because Trout has been spent so much of the last 4 seasons, out, on the DL or having season-ending injuries. But Trout's throughout his whole career, he's got to be one of the best, right? I mean, for the amount of time he's played, and definitely for the Angels franchise. So it's just odd to see. Again, like I said, yes, it's a record, right? But at the same time, like, why are you comparing Mike Trout, who's one of the best, players in the last so many years, to some guy that just, you know what I mean? It's just not comparable as far as, it's just a stat, right? Which is meaningless in and of itself in a certain way. Um, but so that brings up the thing about Mike Trout. So, and it goes back to this thing that I said, that it feels like there's this thing running in the background, and it tends to like make the century feel like it's stalling out, because things just keep being rehashed in the media and entertainment, and um, these coincidences keep happening in all facets of life if you just observe them, right? Whether it's, I mean, they're all screen related typically. I mean, there's synchronicities that happen, in the individual life. Um, but I'm saying, like, if you look at what's out there, um, in media, that's not directly tied to your life, like in sports or, um, you know, uh, entertainment, politics, any number of factors, any number of spheres. Um, these weird coincidences keep popping up, right? And so, at any rate, this was like some time ago. I was in Seattle, and my I went over to my folks for dinner one night, and they'll always have some type of cooked vegetable, some type of fresh vegetable, and it's a very balanced meal. Whenever I go there, it's quite nice, and I've always enjoyed eating salmon, um, and to that time I had never tried trout before, and so folks invite me over for dinner. I show up and I walk in, and I can, um, the aroma of the dinner comes out, and it's very pleasant, and it smells like salmon, and I didn't know what we were having for dinner. So we start talking story, and at any rate, it's trout that we're having for dinner, and so I ate it, and then they said something about the fish being classified as a salmon because different factors that I really don't remember the specifics about, but at any rate, it smelled like salmon. It had capers with it, like how my folks have prepared salmon before. And for the life of me, it tasted like a salmon. Had that same kind of that oiliness, that fattiness, the same type of flavor. The aroma, again, like I said, was, um, to me, is indistinguishable. But at any rate, so it's my first experience trying to having trout dinner, and the way they prepared it, it's for all the world to me. You could have just told me it was a salmon dinner, and I would have never known the difference. So I was to say that a trout and a salmon, very very similar, and which I go back to before, which I've talked to friends about, and I've been into the baseball card collecting hobby for a long time. And I remember in the '90s where the Angels had Tim Salmon, right? And he was a good ball player for a while, and Tim Salmon, right? Spelled exactly like the fish. And then years later, you get Mike Trout, Angels, same franchise, right? And again, a Salmon, a Trout, same family. You do a little bit of quick search on the internet, and so it's real interesting, right? Like how can it just seems very coincidental that you have a Salmon and a Trout and all-star players for the same franchise, right? The Angels. And I thought, hey, what about other people off the top of my head that I can just think of? I mean, I didn't do any research again on the internet, but in the collecting hobby, I know someone that played baseball when I was a small child, and even before that, it was Catfish Hunter, and he pitched for the A's, right, in Oakland. And then when I started baseball card collecting, there had been a guy that had been in the league for a while, and his name was Kevin Bass, right? And at the time when I started collecting, he played for the Houston Astros, but in his career later on, he would play for the San Francisco Giants. So you got Catfish Hunter, who played, in California. You got Kevin Bass, who played in California. And of course, the aforementioned Tim Salmon, he played for the Angels in, California. And then Mike Trout plays for the Angels in California. And so, like, again, I said, off the top of my head, those are the people that, of course, Catfish Hunter, that's not his real given name. It's not even his given first name, but it's a well-known nickname, right? But as far as Bass, Salmon, and Trout, and they're all spelled like their fish counterparts, right? And so I just found it to be just so strange that I look back and I look what's happening, and I see that just these same things keep kind of hitting me over the head, kind of like, hey, are you paying attention? These are things that you follow or that you choose to, you take entertainment in, doing these things, or you collect, or you whatever the case may be, and but the things that kind of whatever you choose to follow. um I see it in other sports too, when I follow like these coincidences, that coincidental things that keep coming up. And like I said, it's almost like this thing that's running in the background. It feeds off fear, it feels like, for people, but also it tries to there's a conservation of energy almost, um in the fact that things keep repeating in historical, circumstances, in entertainment. Things keep getting rehashed. I mean, how many different Batman reboots have you had in the movies, since 1989's Batman? And of course, you had the one in the 60s with Adam West. But I'm saying, the big Batman movie in 1989 of Tim Burton, how many times has Batman been rehashed and rehashed and rehashed? And I understand, after so many, pretty old, so I guess after so many years, you know, I guess for a newer audience, I guess to introduce people or whatever, but these things keep getting pushed forward to the forefront. And it's just so odd that you keep seeing these things, these themes keep repeating. You see these coincidences for names and birth dates and everything, where it's like things are being rehashed so that they don't have to be completely retooled, recoded from the ground up. Um, Storylines just keep getting redone and redone and redone. I mean, I look at things like WWE, and they just keep rehashing storylines. And I heard somewhere before, I believe Jim Cornette said it, and he may have been paraphrasing someone else, but basically he's saying that, well, everything's already been done, right? So that if you see a great storyline, it's been done somewhere before, and someone saw it at a certain point and decided, hey, I'm going to do this. And maybe it might not even be in their conscious thought that they saw it before, but that they'll end up just kind of redoing it. Um, but I'm saying, like, and that's from a creative standpoint. Um, I see it all the time in things like WWE, but you know, also in a observable experience. perspective. You know, he keeps saying the same things over and over and over. And I think it's become so repetitive to me that I feel like, is this some type of test or game where, um, you know, we as the you know, intelligence, points of intelligence, you know, having this experience, are we supposed to see these things and somehow it'll break for us, and it'll other things will be revealed if we just say, hey, look, this something's going on here, and this isn't what we've been told it is as an experience. um and I just kind of wonder, you know. But I guess I'll just, every time I see these type of synchronicities, these funny coincidences, I think I'll just kind of jot it down and talk about it, bring it, you know, bring it here. um Whether no one even watches, you know, no one even listens to the video, I think just by me even saying it out loud, maybe it's all it takes, you know. um just the fact that it's out there and available for anyone to hear it, might make a difference. So at any rate, I guess that's about it for now, and we'll talk later. Thanks.